Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Don't let yourself get attached to anything you're not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner.
Good evening and welcome to Three Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, Heat. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from my basement, as always, my name is Don. And to my right, we have our comic book guy, John.
I'm feeling the heat tonight.
And to my left, we have the professor, Ken.
You know, we're sitting here. You and I are just a couple of regular fellows. You do what you do, and I do what I gotta do. And now we're sitting face to face. I'll tell you, if I'm there and I gotta put you away, I won't like it. But I'll tell you, if it's between you and some poor bastard whose wife you're gonna turn into a widow, brother, you're going down.
Well, there's a flip side to that coin. Let's say you do have me boxed in and I gotta put you down. Yeah, we met face to face. But I will not hesitate. Not for a second. And joining us tonight for his first time, our long listening fan, this is Ronnie.
Don't let yourself get attached to anything you're not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Wait, so you're going to get up and leave the show halfway through?
Pretty much, yeah.
And he's out.
Yeah,
and he's out.
Been about 30 seconds. If I left, though, you'd just cut off my mic, wouldn't you?
No, I'd leave the mic on because you're gone. Why would I? Well, maybe I would cut off the mic so I wouldn't get background noise. And then the professor and Ronnie and I would have a wonderful conversation about Heat. Because something in your eyes tells me that you don't appreciate this movie. And that's fair. I can't wait to get into it.
I'm looking forward to unpacking this movie.
Yeah. Heat comes to us from Ronnie. You made the suggestion. We put it in the hat. We drew it out. And you wanted to come on and talk about it, which is fucking fantastic. So, again, welcome to the show. We're really happy to have you.
Thank you.
Why Heat?
It was actually last Christmas. I was checking out all the Christmas movie that we have. We usually bring them down so we can watch them during the Christmas. And I was going through all our movies, and I saw Heat, and John had, he told me, you got to come up with a movie for, to submit for the podcast. And I just wasn't sure which one to pick. And I saw Heat, and I just knew right there and right then that this is it. Cause, I right then I remembered, the shooting scene when I watched this in the movies back home in Denmark, that just blew my mind. And I just in general thought that it was one of the most awesome movies I'd ever seen when I saw it back then. And actually, I haven't seen it since. So I was like, I got to watch that again and, see if it's as good as I remember. I thought that I remembered that it was going to be. So, yeah, that's why.
So it's been a while.
I probably haven't seen it. I bought it on DVD when it came out in Denmark. I don't even think I watched the DVD, even though I bought it. So I think when it came out in was it 94, 95?
95.
Yeah, in the movies, I think that's actually the only time I've seen it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Julie and I watched this movie, and when they started getting to the big shootout scene, especially in the beginning with the armored car and all that, she wanted to know, did that make it a Christmas movie?
Your wife. I love her. I do. She drives me up the fucking wall. Did she finish watching the entire movie?
No.
Then I'm going to say yes, it was a Christmas movie because tell her Santa Claus comes at the end.
I told her it started snowing at the end.
There you go. Heat was released on December 15th, 1995. It was directed by Michael Mann. The screenplay by Michael Mann. And it stars Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Tom Sizemore, Diane Venora, Amy Brenneman, Ashley Judd, Mykelti Williamson, Wes Studi, Ted Levine, Jon Voight, Val Kilmer, and a bunch of other people.
Tom Sizemore. I feel like we've seen him in something recently.
You know, I can't put my finger on it, but yeah, I feel like I've seen him recently as well. Yeah. Professor, anything?
No, I don't remember.
All right. Well, sorry, Mr. Sizemore. Apparently you were not that memorable.
How well did this movie do?
This movie was made for $60 million and it brought in $187 million. So not too bad for Michael Mann.
Was this the first movie that Al Pacino and De Niro were in together? I know they've done several since, but
They were in Godfather, but not in scenes together.
oh, that's right.
Yeah, so this is the first time that they've appeared on screen together. Heat 95. Did you see it in the theater, Professor?
I think I did. I'm confident that I did.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this was your first time, right, John?
This was my first time seeing it.
Was it a gentle first time, or how did it go?
It was hot. I felt the heat.
Nice. So I'm going to go ahead and say you liked it, because you can't badmouth anything after that, right?
Well, I'll talk it up and then give it a bad rating. Isn't that what I do?
Oh, well, there you go. Hey, you know what? You are becoming so self-aware. I love it.
But he actually does the opposite just as much. You are quite cavalier about having a movie where you talk well of it and then you give it a poor rating.
Equal opportunity.
There you go. He's not prejudiced. He hates everybody. So I remember when this movie got announced, right? We were going to get a movie with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino probably in their prime.
This was a really big deal.
This was super hyped up, right? And I remember seeing it opening weekend, and spoiler alert, I didn't like the fucking ending. I didn't like it then, and spoiler alert, I didn't like it now. However, that being said, I had probably seen Heat, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, over the years. And when I watched it last night, I think that was the most I've enjoyed it since it came out. I guess I had a greater appreciation of the film. I knew more about Michael Mann. I'm just wiser in my movie years. So yeah, I think I liked it better this time.
I was really surprised that when I watched it for the first time, wait, you have the diner scene and then the end? That's the only time they're together? Only 2 scenes?
Yeah, but those 2 scenes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Something that I read that I watched for in this movie was, did you notice at no time do you have both of their faces on the screen at the same time? It's always cutting to one or the other.
Yeah.
Actually, they are there at the beginning. At the beginning of the diner, they are both on the screen together.
Are they?
And
Yeah.
at the end when they're holding hands.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't think it doesn't. You see the back of their heads, or one of their heads. You don't see their full faces on the screen at the same time. Is what I'm saying.
Well, you do.
Even at the end when he's holding his hand, you're looking down, over one shoulder, and then you're looking up the other shoulder. You're not seeing both of their faces.
I don't.
They don't do a side profile shot.
I don't
Well,
think I ever paid
that's
attention.
the shot. That's the first shot we get at the diner. It's a side shot.
Speaking of Michael Mann, are you guys familiar with his previous work prior to Heat?
I am. Last of the Mohicans.
Because you just looked down and looked it
I
up.
totally cheated.
Ronnie, you were going to say something?
Yeah. No, I'm not that big of a movie buff. I didn't really recognize the name when I started doing the research on this. So
Sure.
tells a lot about me.
The only place I knew him from was I was a diehard fan of Miami Vice.
And that's all you needed to know,
Yeah,
right?
because there was a lot of little bits of Miami Vice in
And
this.
just throwing Miami Vice out real quick. Did you see the movie?
I did.
Okay, that's another talk for another
That's
time.
what I was going to say. He did both the series and the movie, so which was better?
Well, the movie has some moments to it.
It does. It really does have some moments that so feel like Miami Vice. But could you ever replace Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas?
I don't know. He decided my whole 80s wardrobe, so that show.
Who, Tubbs? That makes sense.
So other movies that Michael Mann directed, we have Miami Vice. That was in 06. 04 was Collateral. 01 was Ali, Will Smith. And then 99 was The Insider. 95 is Heat. 92 is Last of the Mohicans. Have you seen any of those?
I love The Last of the Mohicans.
Really?
I love it.
Have you ever seen Last of the Mohicans?
I've seen Last of the Mohicans.
Have you really?
I have not seen any of the other movies.
No.
Even Miami Vice. I watched some of the series, but I did not.
VHS for Last Mohicans. So Michael Mann also wrote this movie as well. I did not I did not look that closely at the writing credits, but yeah, Michael Mann wrote this as well.
Yeah, from the get-go, it feels very Miami Vice. You know what I mean? And it has the same tone, the same feel, and the score is very reminiscent. The very last tune at the very end of Heat is very, very reminiscent to the very last tune of the end of Miami Vice. And that's what I was thinking through. And I dug it. So, I mean,
Can I tell you my only like big gripe with this movie?
Yeah, go ahead.
It needed more Trejo.
Well, I think everything needs more Trejo, right?
Wasn't that hilarious that was his character's name?
Yeah. Yeah. That's just lazy writing.
I guess he was hired because he had actually spent time in Folsom Prison. He was hired to come on and be a technical advisor. And when talking to Pacino and talking to Niro about his experiences and things like that, they created the character for him and even named the character Trejo.
Right on. Right on. I mean, that's the kind of pool he has, you know. So let's talk about this cast a little bit.
Which one of these other actors spent some time in prison?
I believe it was...
One of them spent a lot of time in prison after the movie.
Well, Tom Sizemore is one of them.
I was in particular talking about Kevin Gage. Kevin Gage, he plays Waingro. Waingro is the character's name, but he was part of a business that was selling medical marijuana at the time. City of San Francisco says it's legal, and the state of California was a little more nebulous. The federal government said, no, it's not. And so he spent 2 years in a minimum security prison where everybody called him Waingro. God, he was a great creepy bad guy.
He was. Well, I have a whole problem with the Waingro character to begin with, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Ronnie, did you have a favorite character or actor in this movie?
Well, I love Val Kilmer and his character Chris. There's just something about him. Maybe it's because I just watched a documentary on him not too long ago. But
his VHS and video camcorder stuff.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
How was that?
I liked it because I hadn't seen him in anything for the longest time, and then I saw this documentary out there, and I was like, well, I want to know what happened to this guy, and so I watched it, and I really like that, and Val Kilmer, I just think he's an awesome guy.
Well, just so you know, his name is in the credits as Iceman in Maverick.
Oh, it is?
Yes, it is.
Huh?
Yeah,
didn't know that.
Favorite Val Kilmer movie?
Real Genius, maybe.
That was going to be my pick.
So good. I
think that's peak Val Kilmer. I'm not a huge
Top
fan.
Secret?
Top Secret's great too, but I think Real Genius is just a little bit more funny.
But there's one other one.
Is there?
Yeah. I'm your Huckleberry.
Yeah.
Oh.
Come on.
Oh, wow, yeah. Oh, yeah, I missed the fucking boat on that one, didn't I?
Thought you were going to say the Batman movie. Do you have one, Ronnie?
Well, I got to go with Huckleberry. I mean, that line, that almost made it for me just alone.
Yeah. Favorite Al Pacino movie? Maybe I should only ask the professor. Favorite Al Pacino movie?
I got one.
The first
you
one,
do?
The first
it
one
better not be Dick Tracy.
First one that comes to mind is Scent of a Woman. I liked him in Scent of a Woman.
Yeah. Ronnie?
I actually would say Heat.
Heat?
Yeah, I really like him in it.
Fucking top choice, for sure. Definitely in my top 3. John?
When he played the devil.
Oh, Devil's Advocate?
Dude,
Devil's
don't
Advocate.
give him the name.
Yeah, I'm saying the one with Keanu Reeves.
Right, but you didn't remember the name of the movie. You were looking for it.
Devil's Advocate.
Because he gave it to you.
He just, he helped me along. But
another great choice. Absolutely. I am
Godfather.
Scent of a Woman.
No, Godfather 2, probably, because it's more him.
Yeah.
He is becoming who he becomes. So.
Did you ever see Scent of a Woman?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Favorite De Niro movie? You know, we're going to go.
Goodfellas.
Okay, Goodfellas.
I forget the title of it. The Vietnam one. What's the name of it?
Deer Hunter?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. Solid choice.
Awakenings.
With Robin Williams?
Yep.
Yeah. Good.
You?
Oh, fuck me. God, I don't even...
Heat.
Maybe.
He is
but,
so slick in this.
Oh my God, dude.
He is so tight.
His character, and when he comes on screen, yeah, it's good shit. No, but I am probably going to have to say Goodfellas as well. You know what I mean?
now that I'm thinking about it, I might have to go back to the beginning, Taxi Driver.
Oh my God, another solid choice. Yeah. See, Robert De Niro just has so many. So yeah, this cast was put together by Michael Mann, and for what they were trying to achieve, I thought they did a really good job. And then we got some actors who we know now, but didn't necessarily know back then. You got Bubba Gump. Bubba Gump was in it.
Natalie Portman. How young was she in this movie?
Natalie Portman was in it. And Buffalo Bill. So
Ted Levine.
Yeah. And
for a few minutes, you had Jeremy Levin.
Yep. Jon Voight. His role was small, but pretty important. Tone Loc, yep.
Jon Voight originally didn't want to do the movie, but Michael Mann said, "I've always wanted to make a movie with you in it. Please do this."
And he said, "Okay."
Sure, okay.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. That's a great story.
Did this come out before or after the one with Natalie Portman where she did with Reno
the
guy?
Professional.
Yeah, The Professional. Was this one before or after?
She was 12 when she did The Professional.
I think this came out after.
That's what I said. She looked a little older.
I was going to say maybe 92.
I got to ask you guys a question regarding this movie. I know I'm getting the impression that the three of you just love this movie. What did you think of all the sub-stories, and were they necessary to the movie, or should the movie have focused more on the scores, the heist, the crime part of it?
Oh, that is a whole conversation I think we get into as we
How about this?
Because I have a lot of thoughts about what you just said.
Well, overall, I just felt like this movie went off on so many directions that I kept trying to follow. Okay, I'm trying to follow that story. I'm trying to follow this story. So sometimes I felt like the sub-stories kind of took away from a little bit of the movie. I didn't need to know that Chris had a gambling problem. He was having problems with his relationship. Tom Sizemore's got this issue. These people have this issue. Natalie Portman's got a dad who's not around all the time. I didn't need to feel like I needed to know all that.
Yeah.
I guess a simpler way to put it is, did the movie feel too long?
See, I didn't feel at all that it was too long.
What do you think, John? Did the movie feel too long?
Well, again, you guys all rented it, and I watched it on Pluto, which I had, I think, 8 or 9 commercials every 5 minutes. So, yeah, the movie felt long to me. But even without the commercials, I could have done without some of the sub-stories. I think that kind of made it drag a little bit for me. But everything else in the movie was amazing.
Don?
Yes, 100% yes. Way too long.
Because if a movie is anything more than 91 minutes, it's a little long.
How long was this movie?
2 hours and 50 minutes.
See, I thought that it had a couple of lulls where I was like, it was not all that action, but I was never bored watching it. There was never a time where I was like, oh, okay, it'd be nice if you'd kind of catch up with, what's going on and move on. I never felt that way. I just enjoyed it immensely, actually, watching it the second time.
Sure. And that's the thing about movies. Everybody accepts them differently, because this movie is fucking loved by millions and millions of people. I mean, this is people's number one movie of all time. And I'll think about that while I'm watching a movie, or specifically this movie, and I can see why, but sometimes it's just not my taste.
Right.
So yeah, fucking good for you. I'm glad that you fucking love this movie.
The one thing that I kept thinking with all these side stories, and knowing the fact that, Mann had done Miami Vice, it felt like this was an actual TV series all shrunk into one, where we got to learn all the side stories of all the characters, so that you tried to connect with all the characters because they all had a plot line of their own.
There are times in this movie that it does fucking drag. I will fucking agree with you 100% on that. But overall, for what it is, it's not horrible.
Hey, Don, I would like to say something.
And now it's time for John's precious moment.
So, relating back to something we started with, Saving Private Ryan, of how that movie kind of related to Lord of the Rings, I had to look at this movie too and see, you know what? It does have connections. Lord of the Rings draws from like everything, or should I say everything draws from Lord of the Rings. In this case, I felt like Pacino's team, his police team, they were kind of like the Fellowship, and they were on a mission to destroy the precious, which was stopping De Niro. De Niro was their precious. It was their obsession. And in the end, he cast, the ring into Mount Doom when he shot De Niro.
I'm gonna say that's a stretch, bud. That's a stretch. So
nerd.
So on a grading scale, solid C+. What do you give him?
Oh, I was right there with you. I was thinking C-.
Ronnie, what do you give him?
Well, he is my friend, but yeah, C.
Yeah. You have seen Lord of the Rings, yes?
Yeah.
Of course. Okay. Just making sure. Making sure. All right.
Yes,
so
I'm just continuing to prove that every movie has a connection to Lord of the Rings. So we'll see how next week's movie does.
And that was John's precious moment. Neil McCauley is a professional thief based in Los Angeles. He and his crew, Chris Michael Trejo, and a newly hired hand, Waingro, rob $1.6 million in bearer bonds from an armored car. During the heist, Waingro impulsively kills a guard. A second guard is killed by McCauley when he attempts to pull out his concealed weapon. McCauley orders the last guard to be eliminated by Chris, so as not to leave any witnesses. McCauley is angry with Waingro and the crew prepared to kill him, but Waingro escapes. The robbery is investigated by LAPD Lieutenant Vincent Hanna and his team. Hanna, a dedicated lawman and former Marine, has a strained relationship with his third wife, Justine, and struggles to connect with his mentally unstable stepdaughter, Lauren. McCauley follows a code. Allow nothing in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner. He begins a relationship with Edie, a graphic design artist.
So let's talk about how this opening comes about. We have Neil on mass transit, and he comes in on the train, and then he goes into the hospital. As he comes into the hospital and he's walking through the hospital, I was struck by the hyper awareness of all of the sounds that was happening throughout the hospital as he walked through. And all of that hyper sound told me that he is hyper aware of his senses, and he is like hawkishly focused on everything that he is doing right now as he moves forward. And I was really struck by that. And then he's only in there for just a moment, and then he steals the ambulance.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, and kind of what you're talking about exactly, Professor, with the hyper awareness, is he looked like he's always looking for a way out, a quick way to get out of any situation.
Sure.
Yeah, I read that they're supposed to have been Marines, both him and Hannah, and I know that it's a military thing that when you go into a building, you always look for the nearest exit because you want to know how to get out and get out quick.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great introduction to Robert De Niro because not only does he look badass in anything he does, but just him walking down the steps, looking around, going through the hospital, looking around, and then as soon as you see the uniform he's wearing, you're thinking, oh, he's gonna steal a fucking ambulance because they need a getaway. I mean, it's fucking perfect, Mm-hmm. And then after that, we
meet Chris, and Chris is making his purchase with cash, but he's showing ID for a cash purchase. What's that for?
Because I'm pretty sure you just can't go into your local 7-Eleven and buy explosives.
Exactly. It's like,
yeah. So they're setting us up. They're Michael Mann's letting us know that we're about to experience a job. A job is about to go down. Right.
What do you think of Val Kilmer with a ponytail?
I did not like his hair. His character kind of annoyed me, but yeah, that was a bad hairpiece.
Near the end of the movie, when they're getting set to do the next job, it looked like he had cut the ponytail, and I got all excited, and there it was again. Yeah.
It distracted you?
Yeah, he just cannot rock a ponytail.
Careful what you say, though, because your buddy over there, Ronnie, loves him some Val Kilmer. So you know what? Apologize to him for insulting Val Kilmer.
Actually, when he stepped out of the car at the apartment in the end, I thought also that it was gone, and I was like, "Thank you." And then it wasn't.
Oh, at the end? No, at the end it's gone.
The right way.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure because it looked almost like he had tucked it in.
Oh yeah, I think
it was gone.
No, it was gone.
It was cut. So
it was cut and colored.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He had to fucking make an escape.
Well, he was about to become Batman.
So that's probably why he wore the wig. But who knows?
And then after this, now we meet Vincent. Oh, so briefly, he's with the wife, And then after Vincent, then we meet his daughter. And then after that, we meet Waingro.
Waingro. What'd you guys think of Waingro?
He was a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
He was creepy.
He's creepy as fuck.
But, you know, with the twinkle in his eye and the shaggy hair, and he's a bad guy, man, he just sees evil.
Yeah, and we see him because he's getting some coffee, and Tom Sizemore's Michael rolls up in a garbage truck, and he gets in, and he starts trying to make. Was it a tow truck?
Yeah, it was a big fucking tow truck.
Yeah, it was green, so I just assumed it was a garbage truck.
But we get the impression from their discussion, it's revealed right away that he's brand new on the job, brand new on the team.
Right, and he's trying to make some small talk with Michael, and he's not having it. So it's just
don't talk.
Yep, just eyes on the prize. Right, and then we
meet Trejo,
and he's following the armored car, using the walkie-talkie, talking to the crew. You know, and so they have everything down, timing, everything's good to go. And then it fucking happens.
They put their hockey masks on and take that armored truck down. Wow.
Yeah. Did you notice that all of the guys who are wearing white hockey masks die? And the only one that is wearing a black hockey mask lives?
Irony.
I was just about to bring that up because that felt like a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, totally could have.
That they put the black mask on the person that lives.
Yeah.
Didn't even notice that.
There's one other aspect that I found very compelling, that we have Waingro with black eye holes. Everybody else, you are able to see their eyes, but Waingro, it is just black, and he is death.
The one thing I read was his mask was supposed to be representative of closer to like a Friday the 13th Jason mask because he's a killer. So you're absolutely right, Professor. I'm glad you picked up on that.
So the armored car's coming, and this is the takedown. They use the tow truck to hit it. They all rush out. They use the explosives to open the door. And they're
was
looking
that
for
a fucking sexy shot?
Which one? Where it blows all the car windows out?
Where it blows the car windows out. That was a fucking sexy shot.
So I'm watching it down here, right? And as the tow truck is ramping up to speed, it starts on the left side of my room and it goes all the way to the right. And then when it gets to
Fuck me, that is awesome.
And when the glass blows out, you can hear the glass go that way. It was fucking incredible.
You have the glass go from front to the back.
Yeah.
Well, well, put that motherfucker on. Let's watch it. I want to see that.
Oh, I bet you do, Pluto boy.
I think I was already in my third or fourth set of commercials by now.
The only thing that would have made this so much better, John, is if you said, and I watched it on my phone. So completely ruining.
Because he totally would have.
Oh, I know he would have.
Guilty.
Yeah.
And this shows the cold professionalism of this crew, the precision and the efficiency. And oh my gosh, they are a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, the call comes in and you hear him saying 3 minutes, and then the time clock's running, and they're looking for something specific. They're looking for bearer bonds, and they make out with it. And on their way out, Waingro starts fucking with a guard, and you know this is going to go south real quick.
You
right?
knew he had murder on his mind.
Look at that shit coming out of his ears, asshole.
That's such
he
a great
can't
line.
hear.
Yeah, such a great line. But he fucking shoots the guard anyway, kills him, and then one of the other guards goes for his holster, and De Niro has no choice, has to put him down. And then
Chris looks for approval from Neil. Do I kill the last one?
Right, because he starts to run off, but they stop him, and he no witnesses.
I like how Pacino put it later on that you've already killed one cop, you might as well just kill them all because it's still the same crime.
Sure. What did you think about this opening there, Ronnie?
I loved it. Watching it, I had actually kind of forgotten about that whole scene, and so watching it again, I think I was just as blown away as I was when I saw it at age 23.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the most dynamic openings in a movie. And, I said it last week. I've said it again and again and again, and I'll say it one more time just for John. If a movie grabs you in the opening and can make you invest, then it's a great fucking movie. So,
and I agree 100% because this movie does really grab you at that beginning. It really kind of builds up to that whole heist with the armored car. And the only thing, like I said, then we all start getting all the little side stories, and then it kind of deflates it a little bit, and then it tries to bring you back in, and then deflates it again. So I wish the movie had just stuck to these scenes like this and the whole buildup to these kind of scenes.
So after the heist, they get in the car and they're driving away, and Waingro making excuses, right? I had to do it. He was making a move. He was making a move. And fucking De Niro is pissed, right? And so they all go out and they get dinner. And they're all sitting at the diner. And I love this scene when De Niro walks in, doesn't say anything, sits down, and just slams his fucking head into the table. And then all the patrons look. And then Tom Sizemore looks and gives him that look. He's just stone cold.
He just
fucking
leans
great
out.
moment.
He leans out to look at the next booth over. What are you looking at?
Yeah, but he doesn't even have to say it.
It's in his eyes.
It's all in his eyes. It's
Absolutely.
fucking great shot. Great shot.
And I feel like this is something that you'd see every day in New York.
But they weren't in New York.
I know, but it just feels like a New York diner scene.
Oh, kind of.
And doesn't one of them, is it Chris that gets up from his seat and leaves it for Neil to actually sit down because he knows, he's going to want to sit here because.
Yeah, Chris leaves, and then we have Michael sit at the counter,
right.
and then Michael and Neil sits down, and then Michael sits down again.
Right. And because they're setting it up, and De Niro doesn't mix words. He just says, "Let's pay this fucking guy because I'm done with it." They get up and they leave.
It's in the car.
It's in the car. The split is in the car.
Did you see the murder attempt?
Oh, 100%. I mean, De Niro's not putting up with any shit. But I love the bit where they open the trunk. Did you guys notice the trunk?
Yes.
How neatly it was taped with all the plastic.
That's the moment I knew that they were gonna off this guy.
He was a dead motherfucker, right? Okay, so this is the point in the movie where I come to my first fucking beef. How the fuck does he get away?
Yeah.
The distraction with the cop car.
Oh, fuck off, movie convenience. He's laying right in fucking front of you. You have your gun on him. Why would you even look away? That's what your crew is for, right?
The crew said, "Cop, don't do it." And
well, I get that 100%, but even through your peripheral vision, you don't hear him roll away. You don't hear him get away. How the fuck does he get away? Anybody?
He's slippery.
He climbed under a car and scooted away.
Yeah, well, this is the first time in this movie where I'm going to call bullshit. And unfortunately,
plot convenience.
Sorry, Ronnie. It's not going to be the last.
I actually agree. That was kind of like, yeah, that doesn't seem.
Ronnie, how do you say bullshit in Danish?
Lord.
What's that translate into?
Well, shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you say fuck in Danish? Is there a Danish word for fuck?
Yeah, but I don't think not so much in the sense that you're using it right now.
Like, fuck that guy.
In more of the traditional sense?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Well, teach me that one too then.
So you said Lord when you saw that scene.
Yeah, pretty much. It was bullshit.
Can we talk a little bit about Hannah? Vincent showing up to the crime scene.
Let's jump right into this because you know what? Al Pacino, after Son of a Woman, he kind of had this gravitas to him. He just won the Oscar and he was bigger in life. I thought in moments of this film, he was kind of overacting a little bit. But I think in the spirit of the character of Hannah, I think it works. And it shows in this opening scene when he comes in and he's looking at the crime scene. Right. And he's telling them all the people that work for him are kind of hanging on his every word. And then he walks them through, how the guys did it. And, what does he say? He goes, they are slick. They are good. Right. So
he immediately understands who he's dealing with.
Yeah, 100%. And we get the sense of his character has been doing this for a long time because we know that he's on his third marriage. He eats, breathes, sleeps, shits the job. And, we know what we're dealing with. And he is that attack dog that is not going to stop, which is such a good match for De Niro's character.
You also get the impression that everything he's seen and been a part of and, is keeping from, his wives, past wives and everything, is just kind of destroyed him inside to the point where he can't have a healthy relationship because of it. He says, I'm not going to come home and tell you everything that's going on because it's just too crazy.
Yeah.
Now, here's something I'm going to say, and it's probably going to piss you off. One of the things that I appreciated about this movie is De Niro and Pacino's characters are like complete opposites. In the way of, I felt like Pacino, as you said, kind of overacts in this movie, and that's kind of his role. That's his character. I'm sure that's why he was hired. He overacts everything, every bit of dialogue he says. It's just a shouting. He gets it out. I felt like De Niro underacted in this movie, that he was always just calm and reserved. And honestly, I didn't feel like this was one of my most impressive De Niro roles, just because he didn't seem to really overact or do any kind of. He just was mellow the whole movie.
That doesn't piss me off.
Okay.
So I want you to know that.
I thought,
but I also
underacting.
But I also want you to know that yes, it doesn't piss me off. But however, you are wrong. So De Niro's mellow demeanor is menacing, and he says so much without even having to say anything. The bit where he meets Edie, which happens right after all of this, he's sitting at the counter and she comes up to start a conversation, and
after her second question.
Yeah. Look, lady, why do you care so much what I do and what I'm reading? And it's just so, it was great. I don't think he was underacting at all.
I always, during the movie, I felt like it was because he was just that much in control of himself and his life, and that much of a professional at what he was doing, that, that's just who he is, just this calm, mellow dude.
Yeah, 100%. And for him to be questioning Edie makes perfect sense. He doesn't know if she's an undercover cop, if she's been watching him for months, And so he does what he says never to do, and he lets his guard down, And so this is where we get Edie and Neil's, the beginning of their relationship. Macaulay's fence, Nate, suggests he sell the stolen bonds back to their original owner, money launderer Roger Van Zant. Van Zant agrees, but is angered by the theft and instructs his men to ambush and murder Mykelti. Mykelti and his crew, anticipating a trap, counter ambush and kills the hitman, and Mykelti vows to kill Van Zant. Waingro murders a child prostitute. Hannah's team investigates, and they discover evidence on this girl that was found on other recent murdered child prostitutes. This girl being the most recent of Waingro's victims. An informant of the LAPD connects Michael to the robbery, and Hannah's team begins monitoring him, leading them to the rest of the crew and their next target, a precious metals depository. Hannah's team stakes out the depository, but when a careless officer makes a noise, Mykelti and his crew walk off the job. So this is where we get to meet Nate, played by Jon Voight, and he is Neil's fence, and we assume that they're friends, if you can have such in this lifestyle. What'd you guys think of Jon Voight?
I loved his mustache.
I thought he was the fence extraordinaire.
Yeah.
His reach that he has for his information and how he's able to offload things. Yeah, he was impressive.
But he didn't have a great idea on how to offload those bonds.
In theory, it should have worked just fine.
It should have.
I mean, what we didn't account, or what he didn't take into account, is Van Zant's ego. So, yeah. What'd you think of Jon Voight there, Ronnie?
I loved him very much in this movie. I just love that character. He does it really, really good, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And this is where we are also introduced to Roger Van Zant, played by William Fichtner. I thought he was a great sleazy weasel. He plays that role really good.
You saw who his sidekick was?
Henry Rollins.
Yeah.
He looked weird with dark hair. Mm-hmm. And with hair, actually.
I've got beef with Henry Rollins.
Why is that?
Personal beef.
Why is that?
I used to work when I was attending the University of Washington in their arts and entertainment department. And one of the things that we would do is we help put on these performances, invite people in. He was invited in to do like a speaking engagement where he would stand up and do this kind of poetry type stuff that he did. And for some reason, whoever was supposed to sell his merch didn't show up that night. So they came to me as a volunteer doing this for free, asked me to sell his merch that night. So I said, sure, I'll do it, but I have one request. And I asked his manager, I said, can I just get an autograph with him by the end of the show? The guy said, sure, absolutely. Henry loves doing that kind of thing. He will do an autograph for you, no problem. So it's like 2.5 hours. I'm selling his merch, doing really well, making him a lot of money. Show ends. I'm waiting for everybody to clear out. His manager comes out with Henry Rollins, and they ask, how much do we make? And I give him all the money and all the receipts and everything. And I asked, so can I get that autograph? Henry Rollins looked at me and goes, no, fuck you. And I was like, well, the manager said I could have an autograph. And the guy looked at me and said, I never said that.
What a fucking dick.
I thought he was a complete dick. So,
I love the fact that you threw his manager under the bus faster than anyone could fucking blink.
Well, I just said, the guy said
I know, you fucking threw him under the bus. I love it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So ever since then, I have not been a Henry Rollins fan.
And I got to tell you the truth, I'm not a huge Henry Rollins fan either. So Van Zant tells his bodyguard to take care of Mykelti and the crew, and they meet at this deserted drive-in. What do you guys think of this scene?
Nice.
Right? Yeah. And you knew that De Niro wasn't going to show up just to show up.
I kept thinking, where's the sniper? Where's somebody with a gun?
Totally. Right. And it works out, and it turns out that Van Zant fucks them and gives them a bag full of just paper.
But this is also where we kind of get to see Neil's weakness. Basically the chink in his armor. He's so detached from everything and everyone in the beginning of this movie, but he has a sense of revenge.
So now we get to find out that Waingro got away, and he's with this prostitute, and he kills her, and then we are introduced to a serial killer plotline, which goes nowhere.
I didn't understand the introduction of. Was this just to make us dislike him more? We knew he had issues. He was a murderer. He's a cop killer. Why did we need this subplot of him being a serial killer as well?
I wish I could answer that question for you. However, this is another beef I have with this movie is this plotline makes no sense. I don't understand it. I don't know why we even needed it. And it just put in more time to a film that I felt was already too long. Ronnie, what did you think of the subplot?
Well, I kind of agree that it wasn't really necessary, but I still kind of like that scene because it showed how evil Waingro really is, because the way that he told her that she pretty much was going to die, just that evil look in his face, to me, that it just showed, this really, really is a bad guy.
He called himself the Grim Reaper?
Yeah. And he had a big old swastika on his chest, and he's just a piece of shit, right? So, again, none of this happens if Neil doesn't fucking take his eyes off the prize.
Professor, what do you think of the subplot?
I was indifferent towards it. We get to see a little bit of Al Pacino's Vincent being a sympathetic character, that he is on the side of right and good. And it's just one little example about how he is a driven police officer wanting to do the right thing. We get to hear him say that a little bit, and as he tries to console the mother. I would like to point out immediately before this scene, when the crew is out to dinner, and as they leave the restaurant, turns out they're being surveilled up on the building. All of Vincent's team is up there, and they're looking down. Why the fuck don't they have any cameras? No binoculars. They're just sitting up there looking.
Yeah. I don't know. So they're able to track De Niro's team because Hannah goes to his informant, and his informant introduces him to his brother, which is played by Tone Loc. And
he hears the word slick.
Yeah. And that maybe is another beef I have.
It's a stretch.
It really is a stretch.
Yeah, it seems really out there.
How does it get a hit in the FBI database? So now they are all under surveillance, and why go out to dinner? And aren't you guys supposed to be keeping it a low profile?
I think the reason why we have this dinner scene is an attempt to humanize these characters. The antagonist of the movie, in the end, is somebody that we don't necessarily feel all that horrible towards. How is it that we can watch this person be so ruthless, kill several people, and yet we do have some sort of empathy? Not necessarily, but we do not think that these are horrible people. We get to see them having a little bit of normalcy, that they're not just these two-dimensional flat bad guys.
And this also gives us a chance to see that De Niro's character is longing for something.
Yes.
And they make it a point
Yes.
to hold on his face, and you can tell what he's thinking. And so he goes to call Edie.
Booty call.
And, they hook up again. So
I have to disagree with you, Professor. You talked about having empathy for these characters. At no time did I feel any empathy for these characters. The only people I felt sad for or for bad for was the women in their lives, because these guys are all just pieces of shit. They're cop killers. They don't care who gets caught in the crossfire. They don't care who they hurt. Even Hannah's character, the way he talks to his wife, they're all just horrible, horrible people. Whatever reasons they have in their life, I did not feel bonded or empathy for any one of them.
But that's why I think it was put in there.
And I don't have empathy for the women either.
You don't think so? They didn't seem like they were pretty much victimized in this whole movie?
Right, because someone held a gun to their head and said, "You better say I do."
Charlene,
someone held a gun to their head and said, "You're staying."
Charlene said, "Where's the rest of the cash?" When Chris shows up, right? She's perfectly happy to have that cash in her hand.
Yeah, they are fully aware of what their husbands are doing.
They're all ready to leave.
I think so too.
Yeah,
they're all ready to. They all have a foot out the door already.
What about that glass of water that he leaves Evie? That nice little fold he puts around the glass. Is it so there's no water ring on the table, or is it because he doesn't want to have any fingerprints left behind?
I'm going to say it's a little bit of both. So now we come to the second job for this crew, and they are going to go rob a depository of metal, but they are being watched by the LAPD. What'd you guys think of this scene?
I just could not believe that Hannah didn't tear that police officer a new one.
Oh yeah, he was really calm at the end, right?
I mean, it's with all the outbursts that he does have through this movie, that he was as calm as he was when that happened. That took me by surprise.
Yeah, for sure. And did you notice that officer was super fidgety from the very get-go?
Yes, he was
making noise. He was drinking his water, and it makes perfect sense that he falls and,
bangs his gun against the side of the truck.
Yeah.
Knowing what they were doing there, he was being very unprofessional, that officer.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So De Niro hears him, runs inside, tells Chris.
Well, one thing I liked about the scene before he runs inside is I love when De Niro comes out the door, kind of walks sideways, and then slinks into the dark.
Yeah, he disappears into the dark, and then you see him on the monitor, and he's in that negative view.
Yeah.
And he's just looking right at the camera.
Specifically after the sound is made,
yeah.
Then he is staring straight into the surveillance camera.
Yeah, he knows.
He knows.
And so he walks out, or he walks in, grabs him, and I love what he says. He goes, "We've been made. Let's go."
So they meet the next day and they decide to take a vote. Should we still try to do the bank job or not? And so this is a pivotal moment for the movie, because if they chose not to, then they would have all gone off into their own little sunset, happy ending, if you will, right?
I think this might be one of the first times, or it might have been a little bit earlier on, where De Niro has a line that he says several times throughout the movie and then totally changes things at the end of the movie, which is says something along the lines, "The stretch is worth it," which, he's saying it's worth chancing going back to prison to get this score. And then, later on at the end, when he said, I think he says in the coffee area, and he says it, during the shootout of, "I told you I wasn't going back." But yet he kept saying throughout the movie, "The stretch is worth it."
It's worth the stretch.
It's worth the stretch. So that's why I said I felt very contradictory to me.
There are a lot of questionable decisions by our characters, all of them in this film. Macaulay's crew agree to one last bank robbery worth $12.2 million. Hannah tracks Mykelti and pulls him over on the 105 freeway, inviting him for coffee. They discuss their dedication to their respective jobs and the limitations of their personal life. Hannah describes his failing marriage, and Mykelti confides that he is similarly isolated. Though they admit their respect for one another, both acknowledge that they will kill the other if necessary. Waingro makes a deal with Van Zandt to help eliminate Macaulay's crew. Trejo quits the bank robbery at the last moment, claiming the LAPD is following him too closely. Mykelti recruits an old colleague, Don, to take Trejo's place as the getaway driver, and the crew carries out the heist. Acting on a tip from Van Zant's bodyguard, the LAPD intercepts the crew as they leave the bank, resulting in a massive shootout where Don and several officers are killed. Macaulay manages to escape with a wounded Chris. Michael attempts to flee, but is shot dead by Hannah. After leaving Chris with Nate, Macaulay arrives at Trejo's house to find him mortally wounded and his wife killed. Trejo reveals Waingro and Van Zant's involvement before asking Macaulay to kill him. Macaulay breaks into Van Zant's mansion and shoots him dead. Upon learning of Macaulay's connection to Waingro and discovering that Waingro is hiding at a hotel, Hannah's unit decides to use him as bait to lure Macaulay. As Macaulay prepares to flee the country, Edie discovers his criminal identity, but agrees to go with him. Before escaping, Chris attempts to reconcile with his wife Charlene, who has been forced by the LAPD to bring in her husband. He encounters her at a hotel. She warns him away with a hand gesture, and he escapes. So after they plan to do this job, they have to start doing recon. And I think this is one of my favorite scenes when they're in the shipyard and the crew is sitting there and they're making the plans. And I'm thinking to myself, why are they doing this out in the daytime in the public so everyone can see them? And where is the fucking bank?
Well, my first thought is, what the fuck are they doing in a shipyard? And then I thought, oh, this is a setup.
Yeah, completely a setup. And one of my favorite overacted lines by Al Pacino, and he says, do you know what they're looking at? They're looking at us, the LAPD. And he just starts taking a bow and clapping, and he acknowledges that, De Niro's outsmarting him.
We've just been made.
And sure shit, De Niro's up in the fucking tower taking pictures.
Yeah, this scene, again, this was a brilliant scene. This was great. Fit in the movie. I just wish there was more of this type of scene.
Ronnie, do you like the scene?
Yeah, I gotta admit that I didn't realize that it was a setup until Al Pacino realized that it was a setup.
Same. The first time I saw it, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And that's a great moment, right? That's a great feeling when a movie can make you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Al Pacino did a great job of that whole, you kind of see it on his face as he's going around trying to figure out, okay, why were they here? What were they looking at? And then you just see it dawn on him.
Yep. The light goes on and he's like, fucking A.
And just the smile. He's like, oh my God, they got me.
So how does Hannah react to that? He takes a chopper and they start trailing Neil. And Hannah lands in the middle of the fucking freeway, gets in a car and then starts tailing him, pulls him over, and then asks him for a cup of coffee.
What do you say I buy you a cup of coffee?
And then De Niro just pauses, looks around, looks up at him and says, yeah, I can do that.
Do you know what's special about this scene?
Which scene?
The whole coffee diner scene.
The entire scene is special. So you're going to have to be a little bit more specific than that.
This is based off of a true story that inspired the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael Mann knew one of the thieves, the real Neil Macaulay, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this scene, the coffee scene, is what everyone was waiting for. This is why you bought the ticket to watch this scene. So
This is the scene that actually sold De Niro and Pacino on doing this movie.
Sure, absolutely. So Ronnie, you saw it back in '95. The first time you saw this scene, what did you think?
Well, I think that it kind of struck me, which I also read about doing research on it, that the unfamiliarity with them, I guess they, like I think John mentioned it, that they're kind of, the same guys just on the opposite side of the law, and just seeing these two guys interact, I just thought that whole scene was awesome.
It was freaking brilliant. You have two tips of the spear. They are both honed and so good at what they do. And they are meeting at the very tip and they are having a civil conversation. It's an 8-minute shot that I totally love, that it is two cameras over the shoulder and the cameras are just out of range. And it is just a slow pull in on each one of the characters.
I heard that the cameras were 1/4 of an inch from being in each other's frames. That's how close they were.
I believe it.
Yeah. This scene, I'm not going to ask you because you don't appreciate De Niro or Pacino. So
I got a lot to say about this.
So
scene,
the gravity probably didn't hit you. So you have a lot to say. Fuck, I'm all ears. What does a lot sound like?
Well, first thing I wanted to bring up with this scene is you were talking about the way it was filmed. I read that the director actually, he had the cameras over both of their shoulders. He let both cameras go at the same time because he just wanted to capture the conversation. He didn't want to do retakes. He didn't want to just have one of them talk at a time. He just captured the whole scene, and it just worked. The thing that bothered me about this scene was when Pacino says he has respect for him. And I can't see any police officer saying that to a guy. First of all, he knows he's a criminal, and he knows that this guy has killed cops. I cannot see a police officer saying to someone who's a cop killer, I have respect for you.
Okay.
So that took, otherwise I thought the scene was amazing. That's the only line that was delivered that I thought didn't make any sense to me. I almost felt like if the situation had been different, the fact that these two could sit and have a civil discussion, and they almost seemed like they were friends at one point, or they could have been friends, that they could have worked together, almost like you could see them doing a buddy movie together as, cops or criminals. Again, like I said, knowing both their, the storylines of their, how they got to this point, some of that dialogue didn't make sense.
Barbecues and ball games? Yeah.
That's normal. Yeah. For me, this is, when you see it, this is two legends, two icons, really sharing screen time. And I never felt once that they were trying to up one another. I thought there was a mutual respect there for their talent and their craft, not only as the characters, but as the actors themselves. And I thought the dialogue was fucking spot on.
Kudos to Michael Mann for that dialogue.
Absolutely. I buy that Hannah respects Neil to some degree because nobody's perfect. Hannah sure is not perfect. I would bet money that Hannah is a big old fucking coke freak. With all that energy, never sleeping, go. I bet you he's on coke. But
so that's a compelling point, because when we think about this character, we are seeing him so amped up, and we don't see him necessarily doing anything bad copish. And because we don't see him doing anything bad copish, it's like, I guess he's a good cop. But you have a compelling point.
I think this goes down as one of the best scenes in a movie of all time. If I had to,
no shit, really?
I love this scene. This whole, when he says,
it is epic.
When he says, and it's the last, or not even the last bit, was they're talking, and Hannah's like, yeah, well, my life's a fucking disaster. I'm on my third marriage. Everybody hates me. And then De Niro opens up, and they go back and forth, and then they get back on topic. Yeah, we've met face to face, but if it's between you and or you're going to make some poor bastard's wife a widow, I'm going to put you down. What does he say? Brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking so powerful. And then De Niro, well, there's a flip side to that coin, right? And it's just
gives it right back.
Gives it right back to him. And that's where they leave it. Okay? You do you, I'll do me. We'll see what happens.
Maybe we see each other, maybe we don't.
That's right.
He says another compelling little point when he's talking about his reoccurring dream.
The dreams, yeah.
That he's drowning. And the drowning represents what?
No time.
No time.
Yeah.
Yeah, need more time.
Yeah, great dialogue.
They set up for the heist. They got to take out the security equipment so it shuts itself off 20 minutes before the heist actually goes down.
Earlier on, De Niro met with the inventor of the internet. Did you guys catch that? He says, "Where did you get this information?" And he goes, "It's just out there, man. You just got to know how to grab it."
When Trejo says that he can't do the job because he's being followed by the LAPD, did you get that wasn't the LAPD following him, that was Van Zandt at that point?
No, I don't think they showed who was following him.
Well, I got the feeling because he ends up, his wife being shot and him being mortally wounded and all that it was Van Zandt's people that were following Kelsey because they followed him back to the house,
right? But
where they attacked him.
But you don't know that until after.
That's what I'm thinking. So I'm wondering if it was the LAPD following him, or if it really just he was thinking it was the LAPD and it was Van Zant's people.
Well, in the end, it had to be Van Zandt.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right, but you don't know that until after they die.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
See, I felt that there wasn't anybody following him.
And that's another point.
Yeah.
Continue.
And that he made that phone call just to, get to where he was going and without anybody actually following him. But that's what he needed Neil to know, that he was being followed, and that was why he couldn't join in on the heist.
Interesting perspective. I never thought of it that way. I knew it was either the cops or Van Zant's people, but someone was following him, because I always took Trejo as loyal.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he would. In my mind, I didn't see him trying to fuck Neil. So
This brings up to another subplot in this, which is Don's story about just getting out of jail, taking on this crappy job. His wife's so proud of him. Was that another? I mean, do we need that story, or could they just found him in a diner and said, "Oh, that's an old colleague of mine. We need him to drive"?
Yeah, it was one of those subplots again that just it started to go somewhere, but really didn't go anywhere. And could you have cut it that way? Probably.
Well, I just thought that he was in there to show the tragedy of his story arc.
I did think it was powerful. The scene with I don't know if it was his wife or if his girlfriend at the end, where she's watching it on TV and discovering that, this guy that she was so proud of was killed during this heist.
Yeah. Speaking of him being killed, we now are at the robbery, and they're going to pull off this bank heist, and they're so calm, cool, and collective when they walk into this bank for the heist. What did you guys think of the heist scene?
It felt like a real heist. I mean, they went in. I love how he explained that, this money is insured, that we're not stealing any of your money. We're just stealing the bank's money. So there's no reason to, do anything that's going to cost you. I mean, it made sense.
Yeah, for sure. Ronnie?
I actually didn't think when they went in, I never thought that they were actually going to make it. It just seemed like too big of a thing. Even with the expertise that they have, it just seemed to me to be like too big of a thing. There's no way this is going to work.
In general, I was floored when I saw this for the first time. I could not believe. I was slack-jawed by the time it started to unfold once they were outside the bank. But I just dig the style and how it starts. You have this constant beat, the music, it's just driving, just compels it, pushes it along. And then you see this ruthless efficiency inside the bank. And then once we get outside, oh boy, I shit my pants just about how quickly Chris just swings the gun up and starts firing immediately. Doesn't even hesitate. He didn't stop at all. He just like, go. And then that was it. Holy moly, I could not believe I'm watching this gunfire happening on a downtown city street, and the sound of those gunshots, holy moly, so deafening. And it had to be just like fucking crazy to think if you are inside that world and you have the Wild West happening outside these cars. And as it continues to go along, the pace and the tempo continues to increase. The cuts are getting shorter and shorter. We continue with Vincent as he runs up the street. We are running with Vincent as he goes up the street, and having this just, move along, and it keeps going. And then watching Chris as he just swings forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards, and motherfucker, he's just spraying that gun. He couldn't care less where those bullets are going. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Holy moly. And then to have him just be so ruthlessly efficient, which, by the way, is used as a training guide. I think it's is it the Marines or somebody like that? This is the proper way that you reload your weapon when you are under fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Val Kilmer took that as a personal badge of honor, that he did it so well that he is used as an example.
Absolutely. Did you know that although the gunfire was not enhanced or re-recorded, Michael Mann shot all of that for real? He put microphones all over the set. And so what you hear are real gunshots. I mean, there's no mix there.
Did you hear how they did the cars?
Which ones?
The cars that get shot up during that scene.
Uh-uh.
Basically, what they did was they took all those vehicles to a firing range and actually shot up all the cars.
That's awesome.
Then bonded them all to cover up all the shots and put in those little explosives, squibs, so that it was those were real bullet holes in those cars.
That's fucking awesome.
Now, one thing about this scene that I the first thing that hit me with this bank robbery scene was it was just 3 of them in that bank. And I kept thinking that is too big of a job for just 3 guys. I'm like, what were they thinking? And then when they come out, did you catch during that scene that the bad guys were using the automatic weapons? They were just spraying bullets, but the officers were just shooting 1 bullet at a time. And so I guess that was to represent that the bad guys didn't care who got caught in the crossfire, but the police did. So I thought that was a clever thing that Michael Mann thought of to put that in the movie to show the difference between the good guys and the bad guys.
Oh, I'm sure that's super real to life. Mm-hmm. If I'm a bad guy, I don't give a fuck about anybody.
Yeah.
Right. Great scene. Here's another problem I had with it. So they walk in, they get the money, and they pull out the big bags and they're carrying it all out. Sizemore gets out to the car first. De Niro gets out to the car. What takes Chris so fucking long? Because he leaves the vault and Hannah hadn't even left the fucking station yet because of the editing, right? So I'm thinking to myself, they have to get away, right? And then Kilmer keeps walking out, and by the time he gets to the car, Hannah's running down the street. So, I mean, was he taking baby steps? Did he stop and have a cappuccino? Why does it take Chris so long to get to the fucking car?
I blame his ponytail.
Good answer. I'll give you that. Try to unwatch that now, Ronnie, the next time you watch Heat.
Yeah. I don't think I even thought of that watching it. But
My gift to you, sir.
Thank you.
When you're seeing Chris's character, as Professor was saying, he's spraying bullets this way, and then he's turning around spraying bullets the other way. My first thought was, oh, they're fucked. This is the end of the movie. They're all going to die in this hail of bullets at this point. Maybe De Niro might get out for some reason, but I thought, well, you got police on both sides. You got people shooting on both sides. How the hell were they going to get out of there?
And which is because that's what I was thinking too. But they started to leapfrog each other, and I guess that's a standard tactic on how to get out of gunfire. But as far as the movie being over, no, bud, you still had an hour and 40 minutes left.
Yeah. At this point in the movie, I felt like we didn't have a reason to hate Michael, Tom Sizemore's character, until he grabbed that little girl. That's when we get to see, because earlier on, he's portrayed as a family man, a guy who's just doing it for the high. He does, he could get out at any time, and he's just doing it for his family, to get money for his family, no other issues. He grabs that little girl, and you're thinking, he's got a family at home.
He gives a fuck about his family. He just doesn't give a fuck about yours.
And that's the moment I think that we realized we can hate him too.
But here's my question. Why isn't that kid freaking out? If you watch it again, and I don't know if anyone will, that kid has doesn't have any type of reaction. And then I'm thinking to myself, is Pacino going to shoot this fucker in the head? And is the bullet going to go right by that kid's face? And this kid's going to watch this dude die, get a hole put into his head, and the kid's not even fucking crying? What the fuck?
I thought maybe the kid was in shock, and then my thought was, oh, he's going to need a lot of therapy after this one.
Well, fucking A. Could you imagine? But yeah, I agree with you. He was a piece of shit for picking up that kid. But I guess deep down inside, he was always a piece of shit.
And then right after he takes Michael down, he swings the rifle up, and we have an exhale, and we see the black, cold, dead eyes of Vincent. How much time has passed since the bank heist started?
I don't know, 4 minutes, 5 minutes?
17 seconds.
Any guesses?
It feels like, I don't know, 5-6 minutes or so.
Yeah, maybe 5-10 minutes, I'm thinking.
12 minutes.
Oh, is that what it was?
12 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. And we do get to see that Vincent is indeed a good officer, because as he's pursuing Neil, he chooses not to fire his weapon in the parking lot, of the grocery store, as well as after Neil starts backing away, he won't take the shot because there's too many people in front of him, and then he won't shoot at the car afterwards because there's oncoming traffic. So, okay, he's He's barely in control, but let's face it, these guys are amped up. Both of these characters are driven to extreme behavior now.
Yeah. So Neil and Chris, they get away. Neil drops Chris off with Nate, and now he wants to know who sold him out, right? And it was one of two people. It was Trejo or Van Zandt, right? And so this is where he goes to Trejo's house, and this is where we see. I mean, this is a heartbreaking moment because you like Danny Trejo and anything he does, right? And I think my favorite Danny Trejo movie is From Dusk Till Dawn. So he's laying on the ground and he's talking to him, and the first thing out of Trejo's mouth is, "Where's Anna?" Right? And Neil's like, "She's dead, man." And so Trejo tells him it was Van Zandt. You can't leave me like this. I'm not going to make it. Yep. And then
I appreciated that, usually they come up with these, great lines for people. And they kind of gave this a little bit of realistic feel in that he was like, "Well, what did you tell him?" And he's like, "I don't even know what I told them."
Yeah, he doesn't remember.
I mean,
he's been fucking beaten to death. Yeah. Did the house look familiar, Professor?
Yeah, it sure did. Was it?
I don't know if it was the house, but when you see a house on stilts.
Yeah.
And if any of our listeners know what we are referencing, please let us know. So now Neil is he's on the fucking move. He wants revenge.
He's off to Van Zandt's.
He goes to Van Zandt's. And in the meantime, Hannah, he knows that Neil will probably be gone in the next 7 or 8 hours, but so Hannah hits up Hugh Benny, and in the meantime, Neil is killing Van Zandt. And I love the way he does it, right? He walks up to his mansion, picks up a chair, throws it through the window, just walks in and just fucking shoots him.
Well, he asked him once.
Yeah.
Okay, why is he sitting there when he's been living out of his office for days? And okay, he's on the run and he's at home by himself, no security.
Yeah, so now he feels safe?
Stupid.
I think we got the impression early on that he's a cocky motherfucker who took the threat seriously in the beginning, but he thought when he had spilled the beans, on this whole bank right, he thought he's dead. He thought he's either arrested or dead by now.
Oh, yeah.
So he was scot-free and nobody was coming for him.
Yep. Nope, not the case.
Wrong.
So Neil kills him, and then, he is going to go pick up Edie. And this is where Edie finds out that Neil was responsible for the stuff that she's been seeing on the news, so.
This is where I lost all respect for Edie. This is where I lumped her in with all the other bad people in the movie. That how long has this movie taken place? Over maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I don't know. She hasn't been with this guy long enough, yet she's willing to accept the fact that she's been dating a cop killer, a guy who would just spray bullets into just innocent people. And, it takes her, 10 minutes to decide she's still going to run away with him?
Yeah.
I was surprised that she said yes the very first time that he asked her to go, because,
actually,
like John said, how long had they known each other by then?
Well, no, it took her like 10 minutes.
10 whole minutes?
Probably.
Well, it is De Niro.
Because he was saying please, and then he tries to kiss her, and she tugs away. No.
Yeah.
And then it's the next time it shows them talking, then she says yes.
Right. But that's pretty quick to, after I've gotten to know someone, to decide to, let's run off to another island and live there for the rest of our lives.
Sure. And it does say a lot about her character because De Niro gives her an out.
He does.
He says, if you want to go, go. I'm not going to force you. I can't force you. At least he has the wherewithal to do that.
I actually think this is one of the very few movies I've ever watched where I was rooting for the bad guys. Well, in particular, Neil. At the end, I really, really wanted him to get away.
So we come to find out that Waingro is hiding at a hotel by the airport, and Macaulay gets the information. In the meantime, while this is going down, the LAPD has taken Chris's wife into custody, and they, you're going to roll on your husband or you're going to do time and this, that, and the other. And she rolled on him pretty quick.
What do you think of Hank Azara's character? That, he was kind of, I'm doing the lady with the great ass, as Al Pacino calls it. You got the lady with the great ass.
That line was ad-libbed, and Hank Azaria's reaction is complete shock, because he didn't know Pacino was going to do that, and he wasn't sure how to react. So that was fucking brilliant. I did like that line.
But at the end, when he gets her to come to the hotel to be with him,
tells her to fuck off.
He's just this Weasley guy who's like, you're just a piece of ass anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fucking funny. But I mean, can you blame the guy? I mean, because of her, he got all investigated by the cops and this, that, and the other, and that's fucked up. So now that Charlene has lured Chris to the apartment or hotel, whatever it is, he comes pulling up. We see that his hair's cut and he's changed his appearance. And when he gets out of the car, he has a look of like relief or happiness. You know, I mean, this is his wife, and I guess he still loves her, even though she doesn't love him, but she's going to give him one more chance, thanks to Neil. And Ashley Judd has a choice to make. She can either rat him out here and now, or she can warn him. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day, no matter how bad these two were or are, I think at some point in their lives that they loved each other, right? And she really didn't want to see him take a fall, so she warns him. And just that slightest movement of her hand lets him know, and you can see it on his face. And I think outside of Real Genius and Tombstone, this might be Val Kilmer's best scene, because of his facial expressions, and just, you could literally see his heart breaking on his face. And, you know, he's got to turn and leave.
Yeah. Jill, she asked me about the movie, what it was about the movie that I liked so much before we watched it. And I told her, well, there's this shootout in it that was just awesome. And then there's this other scene where Chris, Val Kilmer's character, comes up to this apartment, you know, thinks he's going to be with his wife, and it turns out that he's not, and that, you know, he steps out of a car. She does this hand movement to kind of tell him, you know, this is not good, you got to go, and that he, you know, it takes him a while to kind of, before he realizes what's going on. And I believe she actually does the wave twice, doesn't she?
No, once.
You know, just once.
Yeah.
But you know, it takes him a while before he realizes, and then, you know, turns around, asks these guys that's standing right next to him a question about where he can rent an apartment or something like that. And then he gets back in the car and he just drives off. And I remember at age 23 or 24 watching it the first time that broke my heart. And when we watched it a couple of days ago, I felt exactly the same. It's such an awesome scene.
I really thought Chris was screwed. I really thought he was going to get arrested here.
Okay. This brings me to yet another beef I have with this movie. How the fuck does he get away? You don't have his, I mean, you've been surveillancing him for months. You don't have his fucking picture?
Well, they don't use cameras, remember?
Well, apparently not, because this motherfucker colored and cut his hair. That's it. Okay, it might throw you off for a second, but if you have a picture and you're looking for him and you are expecting him,
why don't you have a picture?
How the fuck does he get away?
I'll tell you what I loved about this is the camera shot that we get from the balcony, and then it swings past one of the police officers, and then it comes down to the street, and then we track Chris's car as it pulls up to the front of the place. So beautifully done.
Yeah.
And then we have Drucker on the phone waiting, and he's talking with Vincent and waiting to hear, is it him or is it not him? And we get that close-up shot of Vincent taking up the foreground, and then in the background, we see the police officer with the arm sling. We see him stand up and come into frame. And then we have the other officer, Casals, I think his name is, or something, Cassius. He walks into the frame from behind Pacino. And it's this moment of anticipation, like, what's going to happen? And we are curious, what is Charlene going to say? And as she comes out and she is there, what's going to happen? Is she going to turn him in, or is she going to yell at him to let him go? And then just to have that very subtle gesture of just one swipe of her hand. Oh, so beautifully done.
And then at this point, they say it's not him. He fucking gets away. And then Hannah's like, I'm done. I'm going to go back to my hotel. I'm going to take a shower and I'm going to sleep for a month. Hannah finds Lauren unresponsive in his hotel room bathtub after a suicide attempt and rushes her to the hospital. He reconciles with Justine after they learn that Lauren has survived. Mykelti drives to the airport with Edie, but he learns Waingro's location and abandons his usual caution to seek revenge. Mykelti infiltrates the hotel, pulls the fire alarm, bursts into Waingro's room and kills him. As Mykelti returns to Edie, he is spotted by Hannah. Mykelti adheres to his code, abandoning Edie within seconds. Hannah pursues Mykelti onto the tarmac at the Los Angeles International Airport. The two stalk each other, and Hannah shoots Mykelti in the chest. Hannah takes Mykelti's hand as Mykelti dies of his wounds. Roll credits.
This next sub-story of following Natalie Portman's character and the suicide attempt, this again was a scene that I didn't get its purpose in the movie.
No, neither did I. It came out of left fucking field, and yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say to it. I just don't get it. Ronnie, what'd you think of the suicide attempt?
Kind of like you said, I didn't understand why that was there. Did we? I don't think we needed that. It didn't make much sense to me that all of a sudden, we see him come home and she's in the bathtub. I could certainly have done without that. It added to the length, which I know that I said that it wasn't boring to me at any point, but that one scene, I was like, why did we need that? I didn't need it.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So
it's a weird thing to happen too when he's in the middle of a manhunt to take a break to take care of this, this stepdaughter who's tried to commit suicide, and then as soon as he's given the green light, he's back on the hunt.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that the reason why he ended up back at the hotel because he thought that Neil that's it, he's gone. He's missed the opportunity.
Well, that's exactly why he was at the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then once they were back at the when they were together at the hospital with his wife, I was thinking, well, maybe that's the reason why the suicide's in here, so they can kind of sort of have a meeting of minds together, I guess. I don't know.
Have a little closure?
Sort of.
Yeah. Well.
But what I did notice is, did you notice how fast he went down those stairs? He was excited to get back into the game.
Yeah.
He was
almost giddy.
He was cruising down those stairs as fast as he could go. He wanted to get back to this.
Right, because he thought he had missed his chance. And now here's his chance to take down his nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to the scene where Mykelti and Edie are in the car. And they're driving to the airport, and I'm thinking they're going to get away. And he makes a call to Nate, Jon Voight's character, and Nate says, oh, by the way, that guy you were looking for, he's at the hotel by the airport.
You asked, so I'm telling you.
Yeah, and that was just so matter of fact, right? And at first, Neil's like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
And he leaves it with, you're home free. And then, so you're going to let this go? He's like, yes. And then he hangs up the phone. And then he drives into the tunnel with the white light, and then they come out of the tunnel, and he's changed his mind.
Yeah, and it's where it's the expressions that he's making. You can see the internal conflict.
So we have Neil saying, now there's something I got to do. There's time. Ironic with his dream comment
about having enough time.
Yeah, and he says there's time.
Yeah, and then so they pull up to the hotel and he tells Edie, keep the engine running, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm thinking, oh fuck, why? Why did you fucking go? You were home fucking free. At this point, as soon as he says, I gotta take care of something, I'm going, oh fuck me.
It's gonna go to shit.
He's gonna die. They're gonna fucking kill De Niro. Damn it to all the fuck. So they get to the hotel. He goes in, infiltrates it, just kind of like the beginning with the ambulance, right? He just kind of knows what he's doing. He just walks in. He goes down to the innards of the hotel and he makes a call to the front desk saying he's from room service. Fucking brilliant, right? Mm-hmm. Finds out the room, goes up, pulls the alarm.
Puts on a uniform, the hotel uniform, security uniform.
Yeah, again, he's no fucking slouch. He knows what he's doing. And he gets to the room, and this room is even being watched by the LAPD, right? But I mean, he doesn't fucking care. He gets into the room and he just fucking kills Waingro. Unbeknownst to De Niro, he solved a serial killer crime spree as well. So how's that for humanity?
Kudos to him.
Absolutely. And so he leaves, and naturally, since Hannah is on the scent, We have to get the scene of him at the window with Edie. And I thought this was, he finally lives by his rule. He's going to drop everything and walk away.
That's the discipline.
Yeah, that's the discipline. And he does. But, unfortunately and realistically, who's going to win in a race? De Niro or Pacino?
Well, it depends. Was Pacino on crack or cocaine at this point?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say he was a coked out version of this cop.
I do have to admit something, and it's going to be a big surprise for you.
If it's about De Niro's acting, I don't even want to fucking hear it.
No, but I was going to say, I read this scene wrong. And you guys have made a great point about the 30 seconds, walk away. I thought when he was looking at her in the car and thinking, seeing Hannah and all that he was going to walk by the car because he wasn't going to bring her into it, that he was going to let her be safe and her be able to walk away, not him just leaving her because that's the code he lives by.
Dude, this was all about him.
So I agree. I see it differently now.
Yeah. Ronnie, the decision. What do you think?
I'm actually glad that he did what he did. I thought at first that he was actually going to get back into the car and try to get away with her, and after that he didn't do it, I realized that was never gonna happen, no matter what he would have done. So I'm glad that they did with it what they did. I'm still kind of bummed about the ending though.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Ugh. I for one did not like that decision, and so yeah.
The decision to stop at the hotel or decision to walk away?
The decision to stop at the hotel.
Because he was home free.
He was home free.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I guess I'd root for Robert De Niro in anything other than Cape Fear.
I was surprised though that how disciplined he's been through the whole movie, Neil, that when he knows that he's done this, that he's going to get off scot-free, that he still makes the decision to go back to kill Waingro, because he's got to know that might make it all just completely disappear for him. Everything's gonna be gone.
Question: you're a police officer there overlooking the evacuation of a hotel with the fire alarm, and somebody runs up to you and says, "Give me that shot." Okay, you just hand him that shotgun.
Oh, is that what I do if it's fucking Al Pacino? So now Hannah and Neil are playing cat and mouse in the on the tarmac of LAX. And how easy was it for De Niro to run out on a fucking runway? Where's the fucking security?
Pretty easy.
Yeah, this is very pre 9/11.
Well, he did have to hop over a hedge.
Oh, that's true. He did. So through a series of shadow games, Al Pacino gets the drop on him, and De Niro gets it in the chest.
I thought it was clever the way they did that, because I thought originally the whole thing with the lights and that De Niro noticing the plane lights and all that, he was timing it so that Pacino would be blinded. But Pacino looked down and saw the shadow, and that's what clued him into that's where he is.
Yeah,
and so I thought that was a clever bit of writing.
Yeah, you get the whip around and boom, down goes De Niro.
So when we have this happen and we are down to these final moments of the movie, I am curious to know, did any of you have a particular thought as to who you thought was going to come out alive and who was going to die?
Oh, I knew as soon as De Niro takes that left, he's dead. So I knew it was De Niro.
I really thought that they were both going to kill each other.
Yeah, I'm sad to say this, but I still wanted De Niro to survive in the end.
So you wanted him to shoot Pacino?
Either that or just get away.
Yeah. But you wanted him to shoot Pacino. Come on. You could say it, buddy.
But
it would have been okay.
Pacino was you knew that Pacino was so hyped up on whatever crack or whatever he was smoking.
Coke! He's a fucking cokehead.
That you could have shot him 6 times in the chest and he's still going to walk away from it.
Well, he is fucking Tony Montana.
Exactly.
Come on.
In the end, I really didn't know who was going to get shot. It was up in the air for me. And depending upon how it played out, I think I would have been okay with a movie kind of either way. That these are both very, very good characters that are very, very efficient. Not so good isn't the right word, but they are very good at what they do. And because they're very good at what they do, I I went back and forth, and I really didn't know who was going to come out on top in the end. And I would have understood if it would have been Vincent that would have gone down, just because of the grittiness of the story and the fact that, all of these characters are dying. There's so much killing in this that only one of them's coming out alive. I didn't think that it was going to be both of them, but I thought that I just couldn't tell. And so in the end, I dug the way that it ended up being Al Pacino coming out.
How's this for an ending? Pacino gets the drop on him. Instead of shooting him 6 times in the chest, shoots the gun out of his hand, shoots him in the knee, and your ending shot is them walking away from the camera with De Niro in handcuffs.
That's not bad.
And then they could have set up for the sequel that
all right, you're fucking done.
That Pacino could have gotten him out of jail, and then they'd do a buddy movie.
Yeah, you're fucking done.
I still want De Niro to.
You still want him to win.
I still want him to get to that fucking island.
Yeah. Well, I don't fucking blame you, Ronnie. I'm with you. So, Professor, what do you think? Is it time to rate this bitch?
Yeah, let's rate this bitch. This bitch that's in heat. See what I did there?
Hey, Professor, how do we do our ratings?
We do our ratings on a scale of 1 to 5 fucks. 5 fucks is a movie that we consider to be cinematic gold. It is something that you are ready to watch anytime. It is so excellent. A 1 fuck movie is a movie that's one and done. You've seen it and, you have no desire to ever see it again.
And what's a 0?
A 0 fuck movie is a movie where somebody owes you 2 hours of your life back. Fuck you for making me watch this. As a matter of fact, brother, you're going down.
In other words, we just don't give a fuck. Who would like to go first for this heat?
Not it.
I'll go first. As I previously mentioned on our last podcast, I've kind of changed the way that I do my reviews, so hopefully they're a little more accurate in Don's eyes. I've now broken out my reviews into 4 separate categories, based off of the technical aspects, whether or not I thought the script or story was good, my own enjoyment based off of my own bias, as well as the rewatchability or whether or not I can recommend this movie. Now, when it comes to the technical and the director aspect of this movie, very well made movie. And in fact, I really appreciated the nonverbal parts of this movie in the fact of, you could see in the eyes of the characters and in their emotions, and when their faces changed, you knew exactly what was going on and what was in their heart. So Michael Mann did an amazing job when it came to that. Would I say it's a 5 in that category? No, because there were scenes that felt overacted. There were scenes that felt underacted. There were, a lot of interesting choices that Michael Mann made. Some of them I agreed with, some of them I didn't agree with. So if I was going to give a rating just based off of the technical director aspect, I'd be looking at a 4 in that regard. But when it comes to script story, the subplots killed it for me. I would have loved to just seen the movie focus on the tension of building up to the next score and the planning and kind of giving us that Ocean's 11 feel of it's all about the heist. It's all about the crime. And playing the game of the cops and robbers, I would have preferred if the movie had focused on that. So that's where the movie dropped down and got a much lower rating of around a 2 for me for around the script. Now, my enjoyment of the movie, I kind of felt like I could, give or take it. I loved just having the fact of De Niro and Al Pacino in the same movie. You could watch them in just about anything and enjoy the movie. They both do an amazing job. I guess I'm just more of a fan of De Niro when it comes to things like the Untouchables movie, where you really get to see his acting chops. He was just really slick. He was, really calm, really collective until about the end of the movie. He was playing that character. It's not my favorite character of De Niro. So that took it a little bit away from me. Al Pacino, again, Don, you brought it up. He kind of had that scent of a woman type character, with the overacting and the yelling out the lines and doing all that. And I thought, they kept going back and forth of he's just this badass cop who doesn't care about anything and he's going to just catch the criminal at all costs. And then they kept trying to throw in these scenes of, oh, he actually is a cop with a heart who cares about people. So it kept going back and forth. And then, I really didn't appreciate the, I know you guys said that everybody was kind of bad in this movie, but just the way that, everyone treated each other, the husbands and the boyfriends treated their women, it's just, I didn't appreciate those parts of the movie. So that's a point where I could have kind of taken it or leaving it. So it kind of got a middle of the road there for 2.5. Now, rewatchability or recommend this movie. I think it's another one of those movies that once you know how it ends and you know what's going to happen, I could watch parts of this movie over and over again. I don't know if I'd want to watch the whole movie over and over again. The scenes of the shootouts and things like that, those are amazingly filmed. I thought they were, incredibly done. Probably some of the best action scenes I've seen, but all of it with the sub stories and all of that, again, kind of killed it for me. I don't know if I could make it through the whole movie, especially with commercials. I think I might like to see it without the commercials, but I might recommend this to people, but I don't know rewatchability wise if I could do it again. So if I took all those scores of my different categories and I averaged them together, it comes out to be a 2.5 fucks.
All right. 2.5 fucks from the comic book guy. You want to go or you want me to go? All right, go ahead.
All right. So the movie Heat, this I think is a very good movie. It is a strong body of work that Michael Mann has put together. And watching it, not for several years, I had forgotten a couple of aspects of it. I forgot about the whole sub-story of Natalie Portman. And I was curious as we were talking about why it was in there. And, all movies have, their shortcomings. And I thought that the shortcomings are definitely, they do not outweigh the strength that the movie has. The heist scenes, the armored car scene, the drive-in scene, and definitely the bank heist. These are beautifully done. I loved how these were filmed. And there's some really sexy camera work in there that we didn't necessarily address. There's a couple of camera shots that I really dug. The first time we see Neil's place, he walks into his glass house at the ocean, and it's that close-up shot of the coffee table, and then he puts his gun down onto the table, and then the camera moves up, leaving the gun in frame as he silhouettes himself against the door frame. And it's dark in the house, and then we focus on the turbulent waves outside. Very nicely done. There were several other camera shots that I really appreciated throughout the movie, so I really appreciated how this was put together. And for the most part, I thought that Al Pacino and Robert De Niro were fantastic in this. They are at the top of their game. How they portrayed their characters are brilliant. I thought that the diner scene is fantastic. It's easily one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And I totally loved the closing scene that we have with Chris as well, as he is waved off by Charlene. And I thought that the accompanying music was done so well. The piece of music that they use when Vincent is pursuing and closing in on Neil. I loved that piece of music. The bank robbery music. I thought that this is a very well-crafted movie that I think stands the test of time, and I enjoyed the cast. I thought that they played their parts very well, and for the most part, I am eager to watch this movie sometime in the future. It didn't really feel like a 3-hour movie. I know it's a long movie, but it didn't drag for me. Definitely some stuff in there, but still, I think that it's a good movie. 4.25 fucks.
4.25 fucks from the professor. Sir?
Yeah.
You want to go?
I'll go. Saw this first time when I was 23 or 24, was just amazed by it. First of all, the shootout scene, but watching it this time, I think, with a more adult set of eyes watching it, I was even more floored by it. From the very beginning, I mean, with the armored car heist, I just thought that was brilliant. And then, like the professor said, the acting, especially from Pacino and De Niro. I just love those two guys. I think they did an amazing job on this. And even though, a little overacting, the whole great ass scene, I personally thought that was a bit much from Pacino, but still, he's just so amazing. And I loved De Niro's character. So cool, calm, and collected throughout the whole movie. I loved him playing a role like that. And I just thought that there were so many of the scenes that I just, again, the one with Chris's wife, with that hand wave. It was one of two scenes that I remembered when Jill asked me about it. And watching it again, even if it was just on my little iPad, it just broke my heart. And I thought that Val Kilmer, he played it so well that his broken heart, you see it right when it happens. He knows what he's got to do. And so there's just a lot of small things that I'm just like, this is so good. This is so amazing. And I think when we watched it the other day, I was at probably a 4.75. Then listening to you guys, I see, well, maybe I was a little wrong about something here and there. I definitely still want to give it a 4.5 fucks.
4.5 fucks from our guest, Ronnie. 4.25 from the professor, and 2.5 from the comic book guy.
So I'm eager to hear what you thought of Heat.
The hype that surrounded this movie before it was released was palpable. De Niro and Pacino on screen for the first time together? Fuck off. I mean, it was going to be amazing. And that's exactly what I was looking for. I think at that point, the story might have come secondary, but knowing that it was Michael Mann and that it was a bank heist movie, I got excited for it. With Pacino playing a coked out cop on the heels of De Niro and his crew, needless to say, I was beyond excited to see this. Did the film live up to my expectations? Up until the ending of the movie, yes, it did. It felt very much like Miami Vice. From the set design to the tone, especially the score. But that's Mann's style, and that's not a bad thing. So I really enjoyed that. Pacino and De Niro's scene, their cafe scene, is probably one of the most memorable scenes of any movie, anytime, anywhere, because of the gravity of the situation and just the mere presence of De Niro and Pacino at where they were at that time in their career. I mean, they were on the top of the mountain. These were the two alpha dogs getting to play in the same sandbox, and it was fucking magnificent. I will watch that scene any day of the week. The rest of the cast, they did a really good job. Kilmer was fine. All the supporting characters were fine. And what really drove that home was the story, and as it pertained to the bank heist and the cops versus the robbers. All that other stuff you kind of throw in there, yeah, whatever. So I thought that the cast did a really good job. Now here's what I didn't like. The runtime. It was way too long in my opinion, and the editor in me was always looking for things to cut out. I think the subplots really, really slowed us down. The stepdaughter's suicide coming out of left field, and then the whole serial killer aspect going nowhere, and then just a lot of added scenes that just took a long time that really didn't tell us much. And some of these decisions made by our characters are questionable at best. I didn't like the ending. I know that normally the bad guys are not supposed to get away, but I'm with you, Ronnie, on this one. I was really hoping that De Niro would get away, and he didn't. And he did it because of the choice he made, and that choice fucking annoyed me. When they get to the airport, there's still 30 minutes left of this fucking movie. And I felt that the ending felt forced and rushed despite it taking another 30 minutes to wrap up. And because it was really long and because I was fucking annoyed, I'm giving Heat 3.75 fucks.
Right on.
All right, now comes the point in our podcast where we are going to select our next film, and we are going to let our guest, Ronnie, select the next movie out of the Bronco helmet.
And it is Big
by our fan, longtime listener, Tatiana. All right, so that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Three Guys in a Flick. I just want to thank Ronnie again for coming on. It was good to have you. Did you have a good time?
I did. Thanks for having me.
All right,
It was good having you on.
I do want to ask Ronnie, you've listened to, as far as I know, a lot of our podcasts. Are you going to listen to this one?
I think, honestly, I think I was embarrassingly bad at this. I probably won't.
I don't think that's a correct answer there, bud. I think as one of our faithful listeners,
I will be
as
listening.
we are promoting you, you need to listen to us.
It's a moral imperative.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What movie is that from?
You did a great job, Ronnie.
I'll be listening.
Real genius.
I just want to thank Zach, Ronnie, and Jill for always listening. Hey, John, where can they find us?
They can find us at our website, threeguysinaflick.com, where along with the podcast recording, we also post our show notes as well as trivia from each of the movies. You can also find us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. We're on all of the podcast hosting sites, Podbeam, Spotify, iTunes. You can find us everywhere.
All right. So for Three Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
I'm Ken.
And I'm Ronnie. Thanks for listening.
You guys ready? Yeah?
Couple more minutes.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
Because we're friends.
Favorite Danny Trejo movie?
Con Air. First one that jumped to my head.
So you like him as a rapist. Okay, good to know. Monitoring him.
Monitoring.
Monitoring.
Great shot as we slowly zoom in on him when he says that.
Except it was underacted.
You're friends with this guy?
Well, I was.
So a little birdie told me that one of our faithful listeners, someone who I'm looking at right now, started one of our podcasts,
My favorite movie, Moulin Rouge.
but didn't finish it.
That's actually not true.
Are you calling your wife a liar?
She must have misunderstood what I was saying when I told her about this, because I listened through that whole podcast, all of it, and I know that I will never, ever watch that movie.
Have you ever seen it?
Nope.
Good for you, good sir. See, we have saved somebody.
Yeah.
We cannot watch Big. I veto it
Why?
because they reference the 1986 Super Bowl between the Denver Broncos and the New York Giants. All right, fuck off. Good night.